All right, everybody. Hey, if you were intending to be in the right place at the right time tonight, then you're in the right place at the right time tonight. This is Trailblazer Tuesday, and I'm fired up, man. We all get the blessing to have Skip lead us tonight in equipping us to continue to further progress in our desires and our goals to serve others, to grow personally, to build our businesses, to network, to build relationships. I don't know exactly where Skip is choosing to focus tonight, but I know it's going to be phenomenal because I'll tell you what, it's just been a massive blessing in my life personally that Skip has decided to join this community, because man, what a godsend of a brother in Christ, and just a really, really dear friend. We've become very fast friends and developed a pretty deep friendship in a relatively brief period of time. I'm excited at what the future holds and that him and Deb are going to be part of it. And so we're all super blessed and privileged that Skip is here. And with that, my brother, I'm going to just pass the mic to you, and I'm ready to take notes and learn.
Hey, thank you so much, Ryan. And welcome this evening. Thank you for investing time and ultimately investing time and trusting this community to serve you. And firstly, Ryan and Jolene, thank you for the privilege and honor to be sitting on this end and have access to the microphone. I've had interaction and touch points with many of you. Some of you I have not. So those of you that are new, welcome to this time or this space. And those that we have had some touch points, you'll hear a familiar theme, but different. And where I want to go with that is I want a little bit of interaction. So since it is a relatively small group, there's 15 or so of us on board. We shouldn't have too much problem having kind of a roundtable discussion at some points to have kind of a feedback. But it's going to build upon a similar premise, a similar foundation to what we have heard in the past. The theme would be, for Tuesdays, it's how to build your business is kind of a theme. So what I want to start off by asking is, what is your business in this community here? Let me ask some opinions and open up the mic. I think you all have access to unmute yourself. Let me ask you, what is your business? Let me have some feedback. Rebecca's typing people. Thank you.
The relationship business.
Relationship business. Thank you. Al seems to concur with that, Myra. Generally speaking, yes. Let me suggest to you that I don't care what business you're ultimately in the people business. So being the fact that we're in the people business, what is your product? As team leaders here, what is your product?
Ourselves, I think.
A product is ourselves, yes. And that's the one variable that you can control, but most people put the least amount of time is in controlling that. We try to spend more time to control our environment than we do what we can't control, which is ourselves. So people is our business, product is myself, but let's also make an extension of that people are your product as well. Would you give me that latitude? That people are a product as well? Now let me ask you this. Here's a little, another question that I'd love to hear some feedback on. Think about this for a few seconds, but let me ask you this. If you could master one skill set for the rest of your life, if you could master one skill set for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Communication.
Communication?
Leadership.
Sean, leadership. Okay.
Empathy.
Wow. Empathy.
Gratitude.
Powerful. Gratitude.
I have two.
Okay. Man, those are all just big themes. Let me tell you, there's different facets of the similar thing, which is ultimately relationship. Okay. So relationship has twofold. And it has to do with relationship with myself. And that sets the tone for your relationship building with other people. Okay, so I want to focus in a little bit about you. But when you relate to other people, what tools do we have to engage other people? What tools are at your disposal to engage other people?
Trainings like what we're having tonight.
Say that again, Al.
Ongoing trainings like we're having tonight.
Ongoing training is a tool. And that you could bring your people to a community that delivers and enhances a perspective that you may not bring. Absolutely. Anyone else?
When you're talking to new people, three-way calls are invaluable.
Okay, that teamwork and so on. So we're spiraling around the topic, which is, I think Myra, you said that, or Sean, Myra said relationship, Sean said communication. Communication is so effective because it really is the only tool we have to get this universe in between that 6 inches of space into someone else's universe as well, to engage. So communication is so effective. But let me ask you this. It's just a little bit of a rhetorical, reflective question. And if you're taking notes, I am a talking head tonight, but I want to engage you with perhaps some bullet point note taking. Let me ask you to ask yourself this. How effective is your communication? How effective is communication? So what I'd like to do today is define a little bit further for you what communication is and really what communication is not. Let me start by saying and suggesting that, as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. I've had the privilege of knowing John, and we've had a chance to sit and visit and meet. And I said, John, would you buy the fact that everything rises and falls on the effective communication of a leader? And he said, I'll grant you that. So the fact that communication is one of the key tool sets or instrument of leadership. Okay, so see, we've talked leadership, we've talked communication, we've talked people as product and so on, but all of these spin around the craft of communication. So what I'd like to challenge you with is to ask yourself, how effective am I at communicating? And there's some measures and some gauges that allow us to really quantify that. And it has to do with the feedback you're getting. How is your engagement per capita of reaching out and communicating with people? So communication is about you delivering a thought, okay? And that's where most people stop. Communication is you delivering a thought. But let me take us to the next level. Effective communication is where I want to go with you. Not just communication. Communication can be anything from logorrhea, just you vomiting stuff out and just spilling and spewing and so on. And you're talking about delivering your thoughts or your ideas or your concept and your blah. Many of us communicate like Charlie Brown's teacher. You all know what that mode of communication is? Wah, 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 wah. Okay. So if you start off in this journey of saying, okay, I want to master communication as my one skill set that I want to be an expert at in life, you'll see it not only relates and is relevant to your business, Your relationships will have different dynamics at all levels: personal, interpersonal, familial, child, parent, all of these dynamics, professional, all of these things will absolutely change your life. Let me start with a basic idea of why communication is so important. And now, by the way, communication is not always verbal only. Okay? So communication isn't always verbal only. I would suggest to you that you can be a mediocre company or a poor company that has excellent communication to your public, and you will shine and hit numbers and impact people at a higher level. And it had nothing to do with your product. It had everything to do with your communication. The best example I can think of that is McDonald's. No one would think that if you even label McDonald's as food, if you're going to go that much and give them latitude, no one would say that McDonald's makes the absolute best burger in the world. Would you agree? But can you argue that they sell more stinking burgers than anyone on the planet? What is it a function of if it isn't the quality of their product? They communicate. Now, communication, once again, most people see communication as being something that allows you to deliver your thoughts to somebody, to an audience. Now let's define effective communication and why you want to master, if anything, in your life is effective communication. So communication is about you delivering your thought. Effective communication is you delivering your thoughts in a way that's meaningful and relevant to your audience. Let me say that again, because that's worth a sticky note, a memo thing on your mirror in the morning or in your rear view mirror or something. And I'll tell you why I see this to have been so valuable. It's not because I thought this topic was going to be the most important. In my 30 years of experience in this place, I didn't know, the spectrums of awareness from unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent to consciously competent to unconsciously competent. You know the grid, the awareness spectrum. At one time, I became very efficient, and I didn't know what I was efficient at. And it was communication. I didn't know what it was. I just thought I did what I did. And when I realized the differentiator, when people start saying, hey, would you do that for me? Would you come to talk to our group? And I'm saying, well, you have the same material. You have the same information. We have the same brochures. Why would, that's a 100-mile round trip. Why? And I realized that one of the things that separated us was the communication thing. And I realized, well, what is this communication differentiator? And it is that one, most people, and I'm talking from Wall Street to Main Street, think that communication is about you delivering your thoughts. And it ain't so. Effective communication is you delivering your thoughts in a way that's meaningful and relevant to your audience. Okay? So, how do we navigate into that space? Here comes the nasty. All right? Everything's has a gotcha. Everything has a gotcha. Here comes the nasty. What we have to do in order to be effective communicators is to get to know our audience. Once you master people, your communication by default will align with you delivering that which they are seeking. You've heard it say over and over again, some of the oldest books says, find a need and fill it, right? These are things from the Think and Grow Rich, the Napoleon Hills, the Dale Carnegies, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. We go back to those early framework of thoughts of personal development, interaction, and engagement. It revolves around effective communication. Here I'm singling out for you this gem of what it is that would drastically improve your return on your efforts for the same effort you're putting out right now. Ryan and I were talking a little bit earlier, and we have a common friend, and this person is a super high, powerful, highly successful, phenomenal track record. And the reason he's so successful is not because he has effective communication. So I thought, man, we have so much here to work on. We have so much here to improve, because the reason he was so successful is because he just flat out sneaking out worked everybody. So just by the same average numbers of everybody, when you and I have one person in the seat, he's got 10. So R1 is his 3 at the net end of the day. And if he does this and compounds this, he doesn't have any better effective communication skills until I got a hold of him. And it changed his world, because I said, what if we could increase your effectiveness rate at the pace that you're working by 50%? How would your business look if you're able to double the efforts of what you do, and doing the same thing in terms of energy wise, just frame it differently? So how do we reframe this? How do we take action steps into effective communication? That's what I want to kind of give you a little bit. And I think someone put in here, I just saw that, come on, Simon, the most listened to radio station in the world, right? WIIFM. You all know that one? What's in it for me? And Simon, thanks for putting that, because that's where I'm going to go. I want to shift this, because we have to have a perspective change. Let me tell you this also. Every single issue you've ever confronted in your life is filtered through perspective. If you can manage your perspective, you can manage the results of it. And things don't happen to you. They become an advantage and a stepping stone, because there's a great book of wisdom that says all things work together for good. Most of you guys think that all things work together for good only means the good stuff. Do you realize the biggest changes you've had in your life has been through struggle? Don't diminish. Don't seek it. Don't create it. Don't set yourself up for difficult times. But don't diminish or dismiss or run from challenges in your life. Here's where we're going to go with this. Embrace challenges in your life, because they are opportunities for you to fine-tune your character, your skill set, what's in your toolbox of character in order to navigate through. Let me give you one universal truth. All of us will have problems. The question is not the problem. The question is, how are you going to navigate through it? Are you going to lead through it? Are you going to be victimized by it? Are you going to be paralyzed by it? Are you going to capitalize on it? And if we believe that all things work together for good, it's not just the good. The greatest, and I bet you I can go across the board here, and some of you have had some redirect in life, some major pivotal change in life that has happened through a crisis. Now, if we approach that with a healthy approach and respect for a crisis, that forges our character, and that allows us to navigate into the next episode. That allows us to sustain the thought after the feeling goes away. All of us have had feelings about something we embraced and made plans around those feelings. And when the feelings went away, so did your energy and your efforts. Let me give you an ouchie moment. That shows the softness in your character. There's a flaw there. But the great news is, with perspective, we can fix that flaw. Character is what will transcend and build your legacy. And ultimately, what you leave as a legacy is your character. So if we work harder on you, we talked about this earlier, we work harder on how you communicate. And when you realize communication isn't about logoria, it's about engaging the other person and meeting them where they are. When you start seeing people through a value lens, then this will help your communication. So let me share this with you. How you view people determines everything to do with your communication with them. Okay, so there's a two-step here. How you view people determines how you communicate with them. How you view people determines how you communicate with them. And you view people in one of two ways. They are either servants or they're sacred. Okay, you either view people as your servants or as sacred individuals that you need to serve. You're either a servant or you're self-serving in life. There's no in between. So if we look to communicate in a manner that serves our audience, now we're going to start paying more attention to them. And why would we want to serve them? Because if I see people as sacred entities that I have the opportunity to engage and to speak into their lives, then I look to serve them. If I see people as servants of me, the day they stop serving me, I'm done with them. And that relationship is a spinning door. As quick as they come in, as quick as they go out. Now listen, I love this team, this group that's right here. I've learned so much. And I'm looking across the board here. There's only a couple of you who haven't had any touch points. But I see the high horsepower intellectually and emotionally that's on this webinar tonight, this video Zoom call. Let's think about fine-tuning this Ferrari, okay? None of you here are barnyard finds. You're all fine-tuning the Ferrari. First of all, just by default of you being here at Pacific time 6:30, 9:30 East Coast, are you kidding me? This reveals character. This subject matter on Tuesday night reveals that you want to serve people. What I want to share with you, what I have the privilege of doing, is sharing with you something that is unfortunately just the tip of the iceberg. Because I will tell you, like the game of golf, effective communication is never mastered. It's always worked towards. If you make that your MO in life, you'll start seeing how to better engage, how to better communicate. There's things that Ryan and I were talking about, and we've done on Saturday mornings. I've had the privilege of stepping in a couple of times to speak about things like the law of the mirror or the law of reflection. All of these are simply snapshots. But what we want to do is be able to get to a place where you're finding a workout gym for these emotional tools. How to fine tune and sharpen and refine. Let me ask you this. If your body is a result of what you put into it physically, and Al, he was complaining about his shape a little bit earlier of not working out, but I know Al is one of those mean and lean and just a machine and so on, because he takes care of his body. He values it, and it shows. If we could take a snapshot with a special camera of your personal development life, what would you look like? Would we be wanting to have a special PBS fundraiser to feed the starving? Would that be your image? Or would you be distant, non-engaged, non-important? Or would you be like Al Franklin, looking sharp, looking prepared, looking available, right? And so these are little ways to have that reflection concept, the law of the mirror, the law of reflection. But what I wanted, if I were to leave you with one thing tonight, is how effective is your communication, and what is effective communication? And what we jumped over was average and ordinary communication. I've had the privilege of sitting in Fortune 50 companies and boardrooms. And I realized this was such a revolutionary tool when I was sitting with a high-powered, one of these C-suite persons who had made it to the highest rungs of his career. And this was high rung within the big boys, right? So he's up there. It's not the highest seat in Mount Wilson where L. Franklin lives at 5,000 feet. This is the highest seat of Everest, okay? That kind of height. When this person said, I don't need to sit in with your communication session because I've got to take a phone call. I've got to go communicate somewhere. He left his team with me. Well, I had some effective communication with him. He ended up spending the rest of the session with us, and it transformed him. A month later, he said, that was the single most item that he could point back to that swung not only the effectiveness of his team, but he talked about his family and his little one, a communication level that he had not experienced before. Why? Effective communication is considering your audience. This group has the tendency to have a specific personality type that is kind of saying, poop or get off the pot. Okay? This is very common in this group right here. And you know what? Generally, that is rewarded because that's what creates the numbers. But when you create those numbers in an inauthentic way, you have to create, recreate. How many of you have built, you've had to rebuild, you've had to rebuild, you've had to rebuild, and so on and so on. How about building something that lasts a legacy? What if we tweaked all that energy through effective communication modes? We saw the interest of who your audience is, and all of a sudden, guess what? They're starting to think that you're for them, not what they can do for you. People come for the money, and they stay for what? The feeling. Make them feel valuable. Make them feel like you care, and don't make them feel that by inauthentically or synthetically creating that fakeness. People know. And here's how we can do this. I want to leave this, and I want to open it up because I'm done here. I'm landing it with this last point for emphasis. Effective communication is you delivering your thoughts in the way that is meaningful and relevant to them. Get to know them. Fine-tune your question skill set. Some of you can start by this one concept that has been so forgotten. There's a beautiful term, and if you did this one thing, you'll start seeing how people start opening up. I'm not saying even effective communication tools, it's how to get people to open up. Do and start mastering this one thing, and I'll leave you this, if you will, as an assignment. And by the way, when I do this with people that I work with intentionally that want to go through this process, I spend 12 weeks doing this, and you should see the transformation. But it takes that long. You know why? It's not what you have to learn that we're doing here. None of this is new for you guys. It's what we have to unlearn that hinders us from going that next step to being the next version of yourself. And so in that communication space, when you're engaging with people, do this one thing. It'll help you open up dialogue. It'll help you open up conversation. And it'll help you, even if you're talking to the food server at the restaurant, for those of you that can go to restaurants, those of you that have permission to go to restaurants these days, you can try this And people will remember you even when you walk away after they've seen 100 customers that day, and you come back a month later, they're going to remember you by this one thing. It's called edification. Edification. It's such a lost art form, but the most powerful tool in the arsenal that I've seen some people that you look at them and you go, how does this guy have anyone on his team? You're all, something's wrong with this picture. And you realize there's an authenticity and what they've mastery. We are sometimes not specialists in things. We're generalists. It is only the specialists that make the big bucks in their area. Be a specialist. In the communications vertical, it's a bucket, right? We have a lot of things. We have character, we have all these things. In there, edification is in the communication bucket. And it kind of looks like this. Start practicing with your spouse, your partner, and watch them transform right before your eyes, because most of you haven't done this. Most of us take our partners for granted because we start seeing them as an extension of what they're doing for me, and we stop seeing them for what we were attracted to them first at the beginning. What can I offer and what can I bring? We start going into comfort mode, and comfort mode is taking care of number one. When you stop being number one, you can speak about other people and you see them as sacred, not as your servants, okay? So here's the edification tool. Find something to compliment people upon that is not an article or physical article that you can article of clothing or something physical you can point at. Edify them by a character trait. You know what that does? It has you look beyond the obvious. It has you pause and look at them through human lenses for a minute, not as a food server, not as a role, but as a human. And when you humanize people, you'll be surprised that there are some people that will come to you and say, you know what? I've been married for 10 years and someone didn't even ask me or care. I've not felt someone so interested in me as you. That's a sad statement, but it's a true statement. We learn to live in compromise land. There's a book of wisdom that says you should live a life abundant. Abundant. And that doesn't mean stuff, by the way. It doesn't mean stuff. It's abundant in relationship. It's abundant in interaction. It's abundant in that space. So edify people by starting to compliment them and find something that is not tangible. Something about a quality of theirs, their kindness, or their way. For example, Debbie and I were visiting with someone at a restaurant, and they had a little bit of a troubled table over there. And the way they managed it was very skillful, very good. And I told this young man, we said, you know what? I was so impressed at the quality and how kind and effective you were with that other problem table over there. I said, that was awesome. That was, guess what? Next time this was 2 times ago. Next time we went, we got the table we wanted outdoors, no waiting, none of that stuff. Why? It was probably the first time they heard words that wasn't griping to them or complaining to them or telling them what's wrong about them or where their shortcut was or what they didn't do or what they didn't deliver, what they promised they said they were going to do and couldn't deliver, what they were falling short on. What a breath of fresh air to speak into people's lives because you see value in them. Let the rest of the world tell them what's wrong. You tell them what's right. And watch your relationships with people change. Watch them want to engage you. Watch them remember you. That's how starving people are for relationship. When we master these tools, your teams will start taking care of themselves. Seek ye first relationship, and all of these other things shall fall into place afterwards. Master your effective communication. All right? I love to open it up. If we have a little I don't even know what time it is. Okay. To a question and answer. If you have any or any thoughts or ideas, we'd love to maybe address or field them or talk to that. Or anything that needs clarity, you guys.
Hey, Skip, well said. I really enjoyed your talk tonight.
Al, you're a gentleman and a scholar. No, thank you. Thank you, Al. That means a lot coming from someone like you. It really does.
Well, here's one of the major points that I kind of gravitated to here and totally understand because of my 25 years in this industry, in and out of the industry of network marketing. You mentioned about people joining a business model, let's say for the money and staying it for the feeling. That resonates with me because I will tell you right now, folks, there are hundreds of people a day that are joining another company called the Big A, which is an amazing company. They're a $14 billion a year company, been around forever. And I was a part of that organization back in my late 20s. But the point is this, they basically come into this business model and I'm just going to say it like it is, they're stepping into a company which has been around over 50 years, which is cool. That's nothing wrong with that. With a pay plan that's probably pays out the least out of 99% of the companies out there. But I tell you what, it is harder than heck to get them to open up their eyes to another opportunity because they get so drawn in on this thing called feeling, I guess, with their upline, with the communication they have as a company. It's amazing because I know people right now that are my age that are working their guts out trying to make money. They haven't made any money in it. They've been in it for 15, 20 years, but they won't go to anything else. They won't even look at anything else because they're so drawn into the community that's been built. So I'm just here to say, thank God for Ryan and Jolene putting together our TradeWise community within Avoria Prime, because we got a great community here, folks, where we have people like Skip, Myra, Hernan Lawless, Alan Delaney. The list goes on and on and on. There's so many people out there that are great at what they do that we can come together as a community here. And thank you, Ryan, for, you and your wife for doing what you've done. You guys have really put together a beautiful community here for us. So we're blessed to have you guys as our global directors, of course, you know that, man. But I think we've only begun. We're only 4 months into this, and we've got some great people on hand, and it'll continue to grow and grow and grow. So I just wanted to share that, Skip, that you hit it right on the nail. I mean, that's so important.
Thank you, Al. That's so powerful. Let me package your statement, which is so true. People come in for the money; they say for the feeling. Let me package that in a term that can stand out. People will come in for a business opportunity, but they'll stay for a relationship. Okay. And that's true of that excellent model that is there. It's not about the money. It's not all the things that we lead with, the ROI every week, the software we've got. That's when we don't have game, if you know what I mean. We have to lead with that. Let's up our game. And our game, we established earlier, all of you are on board. You all confess that your product is people. So let's up our people game. And I'll tell you something. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Ryan, but it's okay. You gave me the microphone. I can mute you if I want. So to the point that Al was saying about what Ryan and Jolene have done with community is why I personally am here, because I have had a vision and a dream of this. And what Ryan and Jolene, and I believe Sal and Vanessa too, was we have talked about this with them, is they're starting with the end in mind. And I'll tell you, if you look at the website, and Ryan has alluded to this, maybe has gone over some of your heads, Nowhere on the landing page of avoriaprime.com does it say Forex. It talks about building your legacy, a life by design, right? Is using that language. There's no product in there. You think that's accidental? That's intentional. Why? Because what this company, the end in mind, is something that 97% of the companies, I've been with many because I've helped launch, I've helped be part of different companies at different levels. It's always leading with the product and the pay plan and the money and that sort of thing. But few have that long-term vision. And because this company has started from the right foundation, that's why that's not an afterthought. It was the first thing. We just have to do this other thing first in order to get to the big thing. And that's what I appreciate Ryan and Jolene are so adamant about. And that's why this community, I'll tell you one thing, you guys hang in here. Do not go anywhere. The company on the product and on the money side has not even scratched the surface. That will take care of itself. Build your people. Build your people. I don't care if you've had one person and 5 of them quit, whatever the numbers are, start fresh every day. Why? You know that vision, that feeling that you made the commitment to jump on board with? You know what winners do? They stick to the commitment long after the feeling has gone away. That is the difference between winners and quitters. What do? They see the vision even though they shouldn't. They see the sun even though it's overcast. They know it's there. They just have to ride the storm out. And remember, if you can sustain the feel, remember the feeling when it's not there. Don't die up and down by the feeling. Remember the feeling, but stay true to the course. That's character. Character builds groups, not feelings, okay? Feelings come and go. They change, they ebb and flow. Depends on your caffeine level, how much you slept, all of these other things. Don't build it on feelings. Build it on a solid foundation. So thank you, Al. That's just a little rabbit hole. I've got lots of rabbit holes. But anyway, thank you for that, Ryan and Jolene as well. It's just the vision of what they have is much greater. You guys just hang in there. Tell everybody. Bring them to a community. Money won't matter. Though some people will just pay the software. They don't even care anymore because they just want to hang out with community. A community that speaks to them, that makes them feel valuable, that shows them what their worth is, that identifies them as their unique potential people. And this is a community to help them become the best version of themselves. Not the best version of Al Franklin, not the best version of Ryan, the best version of themselves. We help not use them for our own needs. We're here to serve them to discover their own purpose and meaning. So, Dan, it's good to see you, by the way. I saw you earlier today, and I know you have a connection with Ryan, and I too like the goatee. That's awesome. And just wanted to say hi and greet you there.
Well said, Skip. Thanks so much. A lot of information. I've got, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a few notes.
Thank you. And put those to use. These things come. Hey, do you all have okay, here's my little personal and executive coaching thing. Do you all have an exercise in the morning which you calibrate your brain by? You brush your teeth, do you brush your brain in the morning?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. If you don't, let me suggest you start with something. And the best place to start into in the morning is in a journey of gratitude. Let me tell you why. I'm going to peel back the curtains so you can see Oz back here. Let me tell you something, you guys. I don't care what your spiritual background is. We all have a spiritual foundation. We want to get into theology and all those issues. We'll do that another time because I can do that. That's one of my specialties. And we can go toe-to-toe on those issues because I love that space. And one thing that I've concluded, If anything, I've had 40,000 hours in is in that space. And I've come to the conclusion that we are inescapably spiritual beings. In other words, of spiritual origin, okay? What that means ultimately is that we're purposed entities. And one of these days we're going to have hopefully a conference, a weekend retreat, and I can share some of these things with you. But
In British Columbia.
oh man, well, so I don't know about that. You guys may not want to go back home. We like our space up here right now, but but the fact that we are spiritual beings causes us to engage in a unique level, okay? And in order to evolve to the place where we should be is the discovery and a journey that happens by seeing the value or intrinsic value of a human being. And when we look at people as spiritual beings, in other words, divinely created, if you will, and one of these days we'll look to categorize these things, now you view people in a different light. There's an image by which people are created, right? Some people look at my son and they can see me if they know me, but it's my son, not me. When we look at people, whose image do you see? Let me finish this idea with this thought. There's a great teacher who had an exchange with someone who was coming to test him. And in those days, the Caesars were ruling. And someone came up to kind of try to checkmate him and said, should we pay taxes? Because in their little system, taxes and paying taxes was an illegal thing, or if you supported the idea. And this teacher said, show me a coin. And they showed him a coin. And he said, whose image do you see on this? And he said, Caesar's. And he says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and give unto God what is God's. Now, had the questioner been sincere, he would have had a follow-up question, to which he would have said, and what is God's? Where the teacher would have probably said, whose image is on you? When you look at somebody, whose image do you see? When you focus on people for who they are and whose they are, and they're not for you, or you're a commodity for you, or for you to build your business, or for you to get your bonus this month, but you see them through that lens, you will move people in a way that their whole life trajectory will be your legacy. And they'll come to you and say, man, you just spoke to me, you engaged me, you caught my attention, you allowed me to pay it, you allowed me to believe in myself. You saw things in me that I didn't even see. And that's the space you want to engage people in by how you see them. And once again, these are processes, and we do this for weeks and weeks on, because it's not what you've learned, it's what you've had to unlearn. So I started by saying this: if you start your morning with a mental floss of gratitude, the only way you and I can grow, most of you have a hard time with this word because it's a misinterpretation word. It's not gratitude, it's humility. You can only be humble in the healthy sense when you look outside of yourself. So if you start your morning with gratitude, then for gratitude, you're grateful for things that you didn't do, but things that are done for you, you can receive, and that humbles you. And here's the last point on this: only in humility can you learn and change. Think about that one. Only in humility can you learn and change. So let me ask you this: how much time throughout the day are you in learning and humble mode? That shows you exactly how much you're learning each day. The rest of the time, you guys are vomiting your ideas out. You're talking and talking and talking and talking. Start listening and speaking back to what they want to talk about. And guess what? Your little circles, You're going to have two hands, ambidextrous, like Al Franklin, double circling it. And it's just because what I'm doing, I'm driving for emphasis is moving people. This is what this is about. This is how we get to move people, is to understand people and to see them in a proper perspective. And they're not spaghetti to stick on the wall. They're human beings created in the image that we need to honor, all right? Anybody else? Thoughts, dreams, visions, goals, agendas, questions?
Yeah, funny timing. I just got a text from your buddy just now while we were talking. I don't know if it'll zoom in right. I don't think it'll.
Oh, Gary V.
Yeah. He said, so this is crazy timing. Actually, literally, this just came in. He said, tomorrow's going to be one of the best days. That's it. Life is how you see it. Make sure you look.
Amen. Amen. See, all of the headlines of life, this is so true. These are true. Let's anchor them down. Let's get these balloon strings down so we can navigate with all of these thoughts and ideas, because we love the feeling of these. Here's the difference. We talked about this earlier with Ryan. Information is good. It only lasts so long. Motivation is good. It only lasts so long. Inspiration is good. It only lasts so long. Transformation is the permanency of this information. Let's get transformed, you guys. Let's have, even scripture says, the renewing of your mind. If you didn't have to renew it, do you see where we're going with this? It's how to take all of these things into an actionable thing. Some people think personal development is the biggest waste of time. I'll tell you, it condenses times and makes you highly effective. It's just a time in which you're humble and you're learning to unlearn that which you have to unlearn. And then the knowing and the growing is easy. It's letting go of what has, it's our identity. That's why, ultimately, it's our identity. That's why it's so hard for us to let go. Sean Fields, you have your mic off. Are you wanting to, were you going to say something, my friend?
The whole time you were talking communication, I kept thinking, the word just kept popping in my head, belief. And I kept thinking, maybe it's just me, but being able to communicate, I have to believe it. And right now, in the midst of all this stuff, I believe that what we have our hands on is good, but do I believe that the people that I'm coming in contact with actually need it at this time? And I look back at 90 days ago when this crud started in our world, and I've sat with my hands on my thumbs waiting for tomorrow to be better, or for it to turn, for something good to happen in this whole junk. And then I had the thought in my head that we're about 100 days away from the election. And my personal belief, it's not going to get better in the tone and what's being talked about between now and November. So I can wait another 90 days, or I can grab the belief that there's a group of people, whether they're going to be without a job or they're whatever, that need to hear what we've got to talk about. And my communication is not very effective until I believe that. So maybe I'm just confessing, because I started to ask you a while ago when you started talking about relationships and your wife and your family, and man, where's the confession booth about taking for granted our people? And I'm like, but that belief has just kept coming up. And if I don't believe it, I can't communicate it. And grabbing back a hold of that, to the newness of what we've got with these new products or whatever, believe it again, and believe that there's people around me that my relationships need, not just for me. I don't need to gain the money from them, which I really will be happy to take, but they need it. And that belief. So I just wanted to share that, maybe just to hear myself say it to you guys, if nobody else needed it.
All right. So with that, 20 John Maxwell's and you're forgiven.
Okay.
No, thank you for sharing that, Sean. That's authentic. I appreciate that. And keep this in mind. What if you took that same narrative? You said nothing about the product because you assume we knew the product. What if you took that narrative to someone and said, I just have to share something with you that it's just upon my heart that I just think it will absolutely touch and inspire and make a difference. I was just compelled to. I just see something within you that's perhaps such quality, or there's a goodness within you, and just I resonate with you, and I just need to share this with you. And now you have a fan, and you have someone you can speak into, and you can talk about anything at that point. But thank you for sharing that, Sean. That's totally authentic, and that's a great perspective. So anyway, I think let me look one more time in the chat. Myra, it says, thank you, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sean, for sharing that. Let's go out and learn to be effective communication. Let's remember what we're building. We're not building a Warrior Prime, we're building people. They are our products. Let's get to be a place where we master the people game. And how do we do that? Is master communication, because that's the only way we can engage people. We have a community here. You can always reach out to me in terms of saying, hey, I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive. Would you guide me? Or where can I get resources, or whatever I can do? But let's start being different today, because let's be better. Your competition is not where Al Franklin is today. Your competition is, who were you yesterday? Are you better today than yesterday? That's the only thing that matters here. That's the measure. That's the measure. So important that we keep that in mind, because we are all unique in that space. So anyway, I can continue on this space, but we're here to serve, see how we can serve one another. So Ryan, bring us home, and thank you for the microphone tonight for you and Jolene, and thank you all for your time and attention and giving feedback and sharing with, having an opportunity to share with you. And iron sharpens iron. Stephen Covey is sharpening the sword, and whatever perspective is the same truism. And I'm better off as a human being because all of you were here tonight. So thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you.
Man, that was amazing, Skip. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Here, I'm typing something in the chat for everybody based on what you just said, Skip, that I love, and what Sean was saying. Let's see. Now the pressure's on. Here you go. All right, there's my. So I'll leave you guys with that thought, right? The software, Forex, Avoria Prime, whatever you want to call it, is nothing more than a great excuse to invite people into a community where they can be empowered to maximize their unique potential for which they were individually created. I love that. I love that parting thought from tonight. So we can go out and communicate differently and better based on everything Skip really enlightened us on tonight, right? It's not what we communicate and how we communicate is not a software thing or a Forex thing or a network marketing thing or a comp plan thing. That's just a convenient and very useful excuse to get people introduced to the community where they can get what they're really after, which is, I love what you said, Sean, the belief that they can be more, do more, have more impact. That's what they actually want. Most people could give a rip about Forex or software or so I love this tonight. This was awesome. I hope you guys love this. Skip teased it a couple of times. He said, hang in there. If I'm going to give a little bit away, Skip, just because I want them to know why they're hanging in there. Guys, look, your journey to your life by design, your journey to your legacy impact, your journey to make a generational impact that supersedes your time on this earth, your journey to your maximum quality of life is a parallel set of tracks. Avoria Prime can fulfill one of those tracks, but only one. There is another track that runs in parallel in order for this to happen. And the first domino tipped today, and Skip and Luis, etc. There will be others that end up sewing into this process, but the parallel track is on its way here, and it's going to be like nothing this community environment has ever seen. I'm telling you, because the Lord has anointed these men to do this in a way that I don't think has ever been available in this industry. And so, yeah, hang in there for sure, because the value you'll get out of being here, the software will play a little bit of a role. Comp plan will play a little bit of a role. It's going to pale in comparison. I'm telling you, when the train's running on both tracks, woo-wee, look out. So that being said, love you guys. Skip, this was amazing tonight. Thank you so much, brother. You are such a blessing. Thank you to everyone else who shared.